Good morning, everyone, and welcome to The Art of Delegation. I'm Vinny Civitello, Communications Manager for the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. With us today is Krishna Powell of HR for Your Small Biz. A few housekeeping matters before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be emailed to you tomorrow along with the PowerPoint for today's presentation, so be on the lookout for those. If you can't wait to get your hands on those slides, by all means, check out the Handouts tab of your GoToWebinar panel, where you can download the slideshow right now if you choose to. I'd also like to draw your attention to the Questions tab. Krishna would be happy to answer all of your questions, so don't hesitate to write them in as they come to you. And I can't stress that enough. Write them in as they come to you, or you may forget what you wanted to ask by the time we get to the Q&A. So now let's get things started. Krishna?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Today's workshop, as you can see, is titled The Art of Delegation. It is a symphony. And the reason why it's titled It is a Symphony is because if delegation is done correctly in your department, in your organization, it will be sweet music to your ears. Not only will you be able to accomplish a lot in regards to your goals, but creativity and innovation will take place. So for our agenda today, I will be covering, we're going to take a look at your workforce and the challenges that you're facing. We're going to look at delegation, the what and why of it, as well as how delegation orchestrates success. And again, the sweet sound of delegation and how to become a maestro of delegation. Just to give you a little bit of an idea about who I am, my name is Krishna Powell, and I am one of the leading experts in managing a multi-generational workforce, in particular, how to get employees engaged and invested in your organization and take things to the next level. So that's my area of expertise, but I also do HR consulting, my team and I. So just wanted to let you know a little bit about myself. Now, in regards to delegation, what you'll find with this presentation, for some of you, it will be exactly what you need. For others, you'll get off the phone and say, you know what, Krishna, after this webinar, I need more. So if that's the case, by all means, email me, reach out to me. I am available here to support you. So let's get started. My guess is that many of you are leaders and you have been having fun, to say the least, with managing your workforce. And the reason why I say fun is because for the first time in history, you can have literally up to 5 generations in the workforce. You have your traditionalist, and as you can see for this presentation, let's say those are over the age of 73. You have baby boomers, you have Gen Xers, you have millennials, and now we have Gen Z that has entered into the workforce. So those are your 18, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds who are like, you know what? I am not going to college. I am ready to enter into the workforce, or many of them have finished up maybe their associate's degree and they're now in the workforce. And so you have these 5 generations sitting there, and they don't always hold hands and sing kumbaya, to say the least. There are definitely some differences in the way we process information in regards to some of the challenges that we face. And so it does take a special skill set, not only to understand the process of delegation, but your workforce. Your workforce is so diverse, and it's more than just skin color. It really is everything that they bring into the workplace. So if you think about it, there are a variety of things that shape your employees' worldview, and they bring them into your office. It could be everything from their customs, sexual orientation, personality, language, values, age, religion, gender, national origin, work style, work experience, disability, education, race, you name it. One employee brings all of those things into your office every single day. And it's important as leaders that you recognize this, so that way it gives you even a better edge or understanding about how to manage them, how to delegate work to them. For example, when you're looking at those who are traditionalists over the age of 73 and you're delegating work to them, you need to be mindful that usually that generation is very hierarchical. They were the generation, a lot of times we call them the silent generation, because that was the generation that was taught to be seen and not heard. And so as their leader, if you're giving them work to do, they're just going to take it. And a lot of times they may not ask questions. Again, the reason being is the way they were raised is to respect authority. And if that's what you told us to do, if that's what you're telling me to do, that's what I'm going to do with the best of my ability. But I'm not going to share with you challenges, concerns that I have unless you ask me. So again, be mindful of that could potentially be one of the challenges versus having a millennial or a Gen Zer. They've been taught to ask lots of questions. If you have not yet managed any young professionals, you will find that they ask a great deal of questions. Sometimes questions that you as a leader may think, what does that have to do with tea in China? But for them, they feel that it's relevant. So they appreciate more information on the front end than anything else. So again, just some things for you to keep in mind when you're delegating across your workforce, looking at exactly who you're speaking to, and again, what it is that they come into the workforce with. So just to look a little bit more at your employees, I like to look at your employees more or less as your orchestra and you as the conductor. And the reason why I say that is because if you manage them correctly, if you delegate work to help them succeed as well as challenge them, you will find that instead of it being noise to your department, it will be, again, it will bring about much success for your department and the organization. So we're going to look at your role as the conductor when you're delegating work, as well as the orchestra that you have to deal with. What are some of the challenges that you are going to face and how to overcome it? So when I say that you can hit the wrong notes, what I mean by that is that in your organization, hitting the wrong notes can show up as any one of these things, from poor performance to low productivity to declining profits to just having disgruntled employees, or worse yet, unhappy customers. And as a leader, that is not what you want to hear. It is stressful, to say the least. That's why it's so important to delegate, to eliminate the noise, and to create basically a symphony in your office, to have people and show people how to work together, to appreciate and value one another. When we look at delegation, what is delegation? Well, delegation means two things. Delegation means empowerment, and it also means trust. Empowerment and trust. Meaning with empowerment, you don't command people. You simply convince them. You help them to understand the impact that what the task that you're assigning to them has on the business, has on the department, what it means to you, or what it could even mean for their future at the organization if it's going to give them more visibility. And then trust, the fact that you're entrusting this responsibility to your employee, that you are not only just giving it to them, but you're also going to equip them with the tools and support that they need to accomplish it, that they are not going to be by themselves. So delegation, again, it's twofold. It's empowerment and it's trust. When people ask me, and when they say, Krishna, why should I delegate? What's the whole point? Well, first of all, let me just take it from this point of view for you, the leader. You can't keep working at the pace that you have. It's burning you out if it has not already burned you out. You can't keep working harder, longer, or operating in a silo. Our economy, our business, just the times will not allow you to keep up that pace. It is more or less killing some employees, killing some leaders. High blood pressure, stress, to say the least, heart problems, weight gain, you name it. When you're taking on the weight of the world, it literally shows on you physically and emotionally. And so one of my main goals today is to help take some of that weight off of you and give you the skill set you need to alleviate some of the stress that you have been going through. Another reason why, why you should delegate, in addition to talking about your well-being, again, it's about self-preservation. So when we look at self-preservation, I'm talking about your time and the energy that you're using, how much time is taking you to accomplish tasks and accomplish goals, when if you spend part of that time training your people, getting them to feel comfortable with those tasks, it would take it off your plate. I know it's work on the front end, but the time, the energy that it saves you on the back end makes it more than worthwhile. Not only that, but it's about restoration for yourself. For many of you as leaders, you have had to, since you're doing everything, it's time for you to get back to what matters most to you, your family, your friends, traveling, doing whatever it is that you love. A lot of times what has happened is that we have sacrificed, and myself included. I've spent 20 years in corporate America, so I've seen firsthand, just from being an HR professional for myself and even having managers and leaders come to me, the impact that this has on them. So again, it's about restoration and replenishing yourself and getting back to those things that bring you great joy, the reason why you do come into work. So getting back to those things. As a leader, one of the things I want you to remember is that not only do we have the emotional and, like I said, the physical toll that not delegating toll that it takes on you. But I also want you to remember that as a leader, you are evaluated on not just your individual performance, but your team performance. And so if you look on your presentation, you see this little man in red. That is the leader that I would like to share with you. And we'll talk more about this leader in the next 2 slides. But he, again, is trying to carry the weight of the world. And so it's not a balance between him and his team where we are all in this together. And so one of the telltale signs of weak leadership is when you see these things happen, or if you're doing these things yourself, think about doing some things differently. So if you are one of those who are unfortunately only distributing, ugly task, or the task that you don't want to do, let alone anyone else wants to do, that's not the best way to delegate work. Neither is it best to just give responsibility and not authority. If you're delegating work to people, you're not only trusting them to do the job, but you're giving them the authority if they need to have conversations, if they need to engage people across the organization. Now, they should, of course, loop you in, but whenever possible, again, give them authority if there need to be changes made, or if there are ideas and suggestions and they want to demonstrate initiative, allow them some room to do that. Also, one of the telltale signs of weak leadership is that usually one of the things that they do is they provide vague or unrealistic expectations, where the employee who's receiving the workload is like, I don't even know how I'm supposed to go about accomplishing this goal. Matter of fact, I don't even know what this task is that I'm supposed to do or how it ties into the business, And so that's one of the things that you have to make sure that when you're delegating work, that it is clear, again, what is it supposed to look like in the end when the employee has accomplished it? And not only what is it supposed to look like, what does it look like for the employee to go above and beyond for you? So maybe the task is, you know what, I need this letter on my desk, or this newsletter done, and you getting feedback from other departments, and I need this done by, say Monday at 12 noon. Well, you can also share with the employee, I need it by 12 noon, but it would be going above and beyond if you're able to turn this into me by Friday at noon. And that way I have the weekend to look it over, provide any feedback, and then on Monday roll it out. And so again, that's the level of detail and clarification I recommend that you give to employees when you're delegating work to them. More telltale signs of a weak leadership is, here are some of the things that weak leadership doesn't do. They usually don't provide adequate time for an employee to learn or complete an assignment. That is one of the biggest complaints for employees, that, you know what, Krishna, they have given me an assignment that by all means, it should take 2 weeks to complete. And here it is, my leaders telling me they want it turned around in 72 hours. So I haven't had time to learn. I'm not even sure if I can complete the assignment. I still have to figure out all parties that need to be involved to help me complete this task. And so again, make sure that when you're delegating a task to them, it's not something that's you're up against the wire that needs to be done immediately, that you have time to train them or assign someone to train them, to learn the responsibility, to come back and ask you some questions and engage in a conversation with them. Neither should you use delegation again as busy work. Instead, it should be an opportunity to develop your employees. So you should be able to have a conversation with the employee that you're delegating the work to and be able to say to them, by taking on this task, again, this is the benefit to the business, but this is potentially the benefit to your career. Say, for example, with the newsletter, the example I gave earlier. Well, with that newsletter, you could say, well, because you're taking on something such as the newsletter, not only will your name go on the newsletter, but now your name is going to be known across the organization to some of our leaders. You're going to receive kudos and recognition for a job well done. So employees like to hear about visibility. They like to hear that if they've said to you, you know what, I have a desire to learn marketing, and you can let them know this is the groundwork for marketing communication. And so the newsletter is your opportunity to start thinking about how you can participate in marketing here at our organization and take on these tasks now, which could potentially lead to a larger role. And not only that, just the responsibility that, I'm trusting you, I believe in you, and I know you can do it. So it's important that as a leader, whenever possible, again, you look at ways to develop your employees and don't just give them busy work. Not only that, but feedback and support. Again, weak leadership, what happens with people who are, again, not confident in leadership or confident in delegation, what they fail to do is provide feedback. They fail to provide effective feedback, consistent feedback. So the employee struggles when they've taken on the task and saying, Krishna, my boss is giving this to me. I know when it's due, but I'm having a hard time and I'm trying to reach out to my manager and my manager's not available. They're constantly in meetings, or I sent them an email and it's 2 days later and I'm still waiting for my manager to respond. And so oftentimes employees will share with me and go, I feel like they set me up for failure because here it is, I don't have the support I need. And so what I like to remind leaders is that if you know you're going to be busy when you assign this person that task, provide them again with other staff who can support them, who could potentially be subject matter experts and helping them to get the job done and taking on a task, who they can refer back to. Also, make sure that you schedule time with the employee to say, you know what, I'm giving you this assignment and we're going to meet every week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. and we're going to go over and you're going to update me on, what challenges that you're facing. You can also tell them what is the best means of communication when they're with their project. If they get stuck along the way, should they send you an email, or, don't send me an email. I get about 150 emails a day. Instead, pick up the phone and call me and leave me a voicemail, or send me a text on my phone. Whatever is the best means of communication, definitely let them know what it is. Now what we're going to do is take a quick look at some of the common reasons why leaders don't like to delegate. And you may have felt one or two of these reasons yourself when you've had the opportunity or when you've had to delegate the work. Number one, it could be a lack of confidence in your employees and their skill set. And you're just going, you know what, I know they're not ready yet and they need some more development, and no, I can't give them the task. Two, some of us are about control. Sometimes, that type A personality, we're like, you know what, I could do it myself. It's a lot faster, easier. I got it. I'll take it on. Three, some of us, some leaders, unfortunately, are a little bit selfish. And what I mean by that is that they know, for example, with the newsletter, their name may no longer be on the newsletter, or they may no longer receive the visibility from a project, get one-on-one time with key executives if they surrender a project or delegate a project to someone else. Four, in some cases, rare cases, some people are just insecure about delegation. I have met leaders who have felt like, you know what? If I delegate the work, what does that say to others about me? Does it say, Krishna, that I do not know how to manage my workload? Um, does it say that, you know what, I just can't do the job? And so I'm here to tell you, if that's one of the reasons, or one of the reasons that has prevented you from delegating work, to let you know that is not the case. One of the key signs of a good leader is not only being able to delegate work, but to produce employees who are future leaders within your organization. That's what your C-suite looks for. CEOs, COOs, the top level, your executive team, they look for leaders who are able to develop their people. You are secure in your role, because a lot of times your employees would tell you, I don't want your job. I don't want the responsibility. I don't want that workload. But what they do want to do is help you whenever they can, however they can, with being successful. Because the truth of the matter is, if your employees look good to leadership, to your executive leadership team, then you look good to your executive leadership team. In human resources, like I said, I've done 20 years in various Fortune 500 companies. And we've always paid attention, human resources always paid attention, and leaders as well, like I said, the executive leadership team, to those managers who were known for developing good quality staff, who were known for developing the future leaders of the organization, or who were known for having high performers and bringing out the best in people, who were able to take what some folks would consider problem employees and turn them into stellar employees. A lot of times, if you just believe in your employees, invest time and energy and resources into them, they will pay you back not only 10 times over, but 100 times over, in regards to their loyalty, their dedication, and wanting to make you look good and have you be proud of the work that they do. And then last but not least, one of the other reasons that leaders are hesitant to delegate is sometimes they're just reluctant. They're just not sure. Again, it ties into confidence of their employee skill set. So they're like, should I not? How much do I delegate? What do I delegate? So we're going to look at that. One of the common statements that are usually made by leaders who are what we consider not strong leaders is, I can do it better by myself. Again, I don't trust my committee of workers. I don't have time to involve others. I can't delegate something I don't know how to do myself. And actually you can, and we'll talk about that. And the reason, let me just say it real quickly. The reason why you can delegate something that you don't know how to do yourself is that's the whole point of it. If you have an employee who, say, for example, I have an employee on my team, subject matter expert in the area of social media, and I don't like social media the way she loves it. She absolutely loves it. And so she raised her hand and said, I'll take on this task if you give it to me and delegate it to me and do social media. So I don't have to worry about how to use Instagram, how to use Twitter, how to do all the elaborate stuff she does. I just do the bare minimum of just posting something every now and then, but she takes care of the rest of the work. And so again, it is possible for you to delegate something to someone that you don't know how to do yourself. For them, it doesn't mean that they don't look at you like, I can't believe you don't know how to do it. Again, oftentimes your employees look at you and go, oh, good, this is something that I can help out my leader with that will bring me recognition, and for my leader and others to acknowledge, again, the contribution I'm making to the organization. And then some people just can't bring themselves to delegating busy work. Or they're just like, you know what, I don't want to delegate work at all. I just don't feel comfortable with delegating to people. Some of them are my friends. I used to work with them. Or simply, everyone is already busy. Yes, everyone is already busy. But this is your opportunity to help your employees prioritize, as well as see exactly what they have on their plate. are you using your resources correctly? Because remember, it's not just about having the right employee, it's about having the right employee doing the right job at the right time. And so if you have a tenured employee with 10 years of service and they're doing the entry level work or entry level tasks that they were doing since when they first started in the organization, I would recommend that you look at that and consider letting them delegate that to the newbies that have come onto the team. So that way you use your resources, your employee with tenure, your employee with this depth of experience really in a new way. Again, that highlights your business, that showcases them in an even bigger and brighter light. As the conductor of your orchestra or of your employees, what I want you to keep in mind is that if you have ever watched a conductor, if you've ever gone to the symphony, one of the things that you will see with the conductor is that the orchestra does not depend on the conductor. In other words, the conductor does not get off of the podium and play for the musician. Sometimes as leaders, what happens is that you want to get off the podium. You want to go and say, I can do this job quicker, faster, better myself. I can get this task done. That is not your role when you're delegating. When you're delegating, your role is to help the employee hear the notes, to know exactly what every instrument should sound like. In other words, to know what that job, what that task should look like in the end. That is what you have to do as the conductor. You're basically creating this symphony, making sure your team works hand in hand, that there is no repetition, unnecessary repetition of work, and neither are there 2, 3, and 4 people doing the same job. That's what you're conducting. You're also conducting the communication and the engagement of your employees. That's what you're doing. That's what the success looks like. So as the conductor, you must help build the self-esteem of your employees, and you're going to do that by focusing on the behavior as well as encouraging their participation. Because if you think about it, some employees are going to be hesitant. So again, it's about thinking about and taking the time to just even 30 minutes today after today's call, and take 30 minutes and think about your team. And what does a great team look like? What does it sound like to you? Is it the sound of employees complaining, or is it the sound of when you come in and you hear not just laughter, but interaction? You see that, if someone has a large workload, that other team members are able to chip in and help them out, that they're volunteering, that they're looking for ways to be creative, be innovative, to be proactive. That's what those sweet notes, that's the sweet sound of delegation. And so think about how does that look in your individual businesses, in your individual department, because for every organization, it's going to vary a bit. Is your orchestra the jazz orchestra, or is it the opera? Whatever the case may be, as a small business owner, the sound that your organization, your orchestra is going to make is going to be different than if you're at a Merrill Lynch or a large-scale Johnson & Johnson. So again, think about that. For yourself as the conductor, you just have to make sure you practice delegation daily. Yes, practice it daily. And what I mean by that is you don't have to delegate your work out to everybody on the team at once. Pick one person per day to delegate an assignment to talk about what your commitment will be with them. Remember that delegation itself, it's going to take your patience, it's going to take consistency, it's going to take practice, and when I say patience, it's not just patience with your employees, it's patience with yourself, because again, as leaders, you often have a lot on your plate, and consistency is sometimes a struggle for everybody. It can be a struggle just because from one day to the next, you never know, your schedule could completely blow up. and you thought you were going to have an hour to train, and come to find out you only have 15 or 20 minutes to train. And so, but what matters is the fact that you are as consistent as possible with meeting with the employees that you delegate work to help them to be successful. Practice and delegation makes permanent, not necessarily perfect, but permanent. What you want to instill in them and show them are the good habits, the good traits, the work that it took for you to be successful in your role, that it takes for your department, again, to be a success. And so what your employee needs is ongoing experience. And so when we look at delegation, there are three types of delegation: giving someone complete authority, giving someone limited authority, or giving someone no authority. Now, there may be times where you have to give no authority. You just want them, they don't have to check in with you before taking action, maybe because the project is just that important. You have to decide that, but take a look and see when you can give them, complete and limited authority. You can give complete authority more than likely to that tenured employee that has been under or in your department for 10, 15 years, or even 5 years, who has shown you time and time again that they understand how the business runs, that they are invested and engaged and committed to helping projects be accomplished successfully. That employee would more than likely do very well with you delegating complete authority to them. And so that employee would be able to take action without consulting you. The limited authority, that's a good place to start. And that's where you allow your employee to take some specific actions, but they do have to come back and talk to you about it afterwards. One of the things I definitely wanted to share with you is what you should not do with delegation is delegate the delegation process itself. And yes, that happens. I have seen leaders say to a trusted employee, like say, for example, that employee that I talked to you about, that tenured employee with 15 years of service, here, look at what's going on in the organization and decide what we should delegate out. That is not how the delegation process works. You as the leader need to decide who should tackle what work. Now, if you want to use your tenured employee as a sounding board, then great, by all means, but do not delegate the delegation process. Also, the things that you definitely should not delegate is performance issues, performance reviews, disciplinary actions, coaching, any type of employee morale issues. You should not be delegating those. It needs to come from leadership, especially when there's any type of performance issues, as well as planning and forecasting. Your employees do not always see the big picture the way you see the big picture. And so it is key that when forecasting is done, when it's time to take a look at the big picture, that it is coming from you, that you're able to communicate to your staff, yes, what the big picture is, what is the plan, but again, all of it should be coming from you. The other thing that you should not delegate is confidential assignments that have been specifically assigned to you by senior leadership team. That is usually not a good idea. When senior leadership gives you something to do, especially confidential or very high level impact assignments, as I call them, that means that, again, they're trusting you to do the job. They know you can do it, and not that you're going to pass it off to another employee. Now, they can help you. You can use your employee to help do some research on it, or, to look up some information for you. But again, they would not take on the responsibility itself. And also, do not give your employees a really complex task to accomplish, or something that's very challenging that you wouldn't even want to do yourself, that you may even struggle with doing. Again, that would more or less be you setting your employee up for failure. The things that you should delegate to your employees are the daily must-do. Say, for example, if there's a report that must be run on a daily basis, or if there are meetings, think about what meetings that you may be able to send one of your high-performing employees to, and they can act as your proxy. So instead of you going to 5 or 6 meetings a day, is a way for you to go to 3 meetings a day and send in employees who would be great subject matter experts, who would take really good notes, who would come back and communicate the information to you. And again, it's about giving them that level of responsibility, giving them that visibility, and showing them that you trust them. Also, other assignments that you could think about is, is it a task that is it a task, or have you been assigned a task that they can help you with? Even if they can't take over the whole thing, but could they be more or less your assistant, your right arm, your right hand in regards to getting the project done? And especially if it's something that you can do with your eyes closed, such as a stretch or learning assignment, by all means, delegate that out. And if there is something an employee can do permanently for you, you can delegate out on a permanent basis, yes, definitely do so. Just know, and I love this picture of this little boy, sometimes your employees are going to look at you like a deer caught in headlights, like, oh my God, did you really just give that to me? Can I do this? Maybe you made a mistake. Maybe you didn't mean me. And so they will sometimes resist delegation for lack of knowledge or not knowing how. And so they need to know you're going to show them how. You're going to look to them for them to also help devise the how. And not only that, but sometimes employees just have fear or lacking their own confidence. So they'll say, you know what, I don't think I can do this. And so they need to hear from you that, you know what, I believe in you. You can get this done. I'm here to support you. You are not by yourself. And sometimes just limited time, that employees are like, I have enough on my plate. So if that's their argument, if that's their concern, look at what you can help take off of their plate, how you can alleviate some of the stresses that they are going through, some of the responsibilities that they have, that, you know what, again, maybe that report, maybe that thing that they're doing every morning, they don't have to do, you can give it to someone else to do. And then they may just dislike the assignment. What I always say to folks when they have employees that go, I don't like this, is, again, talk about the impact to the business. Talk about what there is to like about the project. Especially if you know from their performance evaluations, from their conversations with you, what their goals, what their aspirations are with the company, and how this could tie in and assist them with taking their career to the next level. And then sometimes employees resist, again, delegation just because the expectations are not clear, the final product, they don't know what it's supposed to look like. So that's why it's key for you as the leader to share that with them. Again, explain the need for delegation. This is how you hear the notes. Make sure the assignment motivates and it also gives them encouragement, and it gives them visibility. Explain as detailed as possible the task, and then ask them for their point of view. You don't always have to tell them literally step 1, 2, or steps 1 through 20, but instead ask them their point of view on how they think the task should be accomplished. It is a good opportunity for you to hear from that employee how it is that they're thinking, how do they process information. That will be a sweet sound to your ears to hear your employee be able to connect the dots in your organization. And that way, that will help you determine not only what their level of responsibility should be with the project, but also how much authority to give to them. And then, of course, have the employee reiterate to you what they understand about the project, the time frames, the expectations. Make sure that they share back with you what is it that I've told you, what have you heard me say. And then before your meeting ends with the employee, set up a time for follow-up. Do not just let them walk out of your office and you don't have a date and time set up for when he or she is going to follow back up with you on the progress of what you have assigned them to do. That is how you hear the notes that will make your team successful. Other things that you can do is, again, that radio station, what is it, what's in it for me, WWIFM, but instead I say, think about what matters most to them. What have they shared with you since their time there? Explain the 5 W's, the who, what, when, where, and why of the project. And then again, ask them the how. That's where empowerment really kicks in. And then also, when it comes to effective feedback, what I mean by effective feedback is make sure that they hear it, and whatever recommendations that you provide to them for areas of opportunity improvement, that they can take the action to improve. Be honest yet considerate of their feelings and concerns. Provide them with a safe environment to receive the feedback. Do not do it out in public, on the floor, in a cubicle where their coworker on the other side can hear what you have shared with them. Instead, pull them into an office, into a conference room, and talk to them. Make sure that when you provide feedback, it's timely, that it's not 3 weeks after something has happened, but that again, as soon as possible, that you provide them with the feedback, and it's specific, that it's not general, it's not vague, that you provide detail. And also share the successes and accomplishments, what they have done that you are proud of, what they should feel great that they have accomplished. And then when they share with you any challenges, understand those challenges. But as a leader, it's important for you to remain loyal or at least neutral, especially when they're talking to you about other departments or other employees. You do not want your employee to say, well, I said, that so and so is horrible with time management, and then leadership agreed. They do not, you do not want them going back on the floor to say that. Instead, what you want to do is say, okay, I understand your concerns that they haven't been turning things around to you in a timely manner. I'll go ahead and work on that. Instead of saying, yes, I have had that happen with this employee, or confirming, or, reiterating what they've said. So just keep that in mind about that. So it's key again for you just to simply hear the music. And when you hear the music, like I said, it's so sweet. Your productivity increase, the quality of, reduced costs, your costs go down, quality productivity, greater creativity and innovation, increased employee engagement, problem solving and not problem makers, and employees taking ownership and not blaming. As the conductor, you just have to make sure that you use thoughtful and careful planning. Devise ways to reward and recognize your employees. Create an environment for your employees to shine. And by all means, embrace new challenges. Look for opportunities from them. To really become a maestro of delegation, give your employees the very thing that you want from them: trust, respect, loyalty. Also create a culture where there is no fear of hitting the wrong notes or no fear of failure. Forgive yourself and forgive them. Be able to share with them that, you know what, I haven't done everything perfect, that I made this mistake one time and this is how I bounce back from it. And allow them the opportunity to bounce back or overcome their mistakes as well. Do not hang it over their head a year or two later that this is what you've done, and so I'm never going to trust you with this responsibility again. And so again, and remember, trust is earned, respect is given, and loyalty is demonstrated. I love that quote. Trust is earned, respect is given, loyalty is demonstrated. I don't know who said it, but I love it. So I know I'm running short on time. And as I shared with you earlier, some of you, this presentation may have been exactly what you needed, and you need nothing more, and you're good to go, and you can take this ball and run with it, and I'm excited for you. Definitely do that. But if you feel as though you need some additional support, send a text to NJBIA, or text NJBIA rather, to 609-336-4649. And what you will receive is a message from my team. What my mother taught me is that when anyone has invited you into their home, AKA your offices, your place of business, that you never go empty-handed, that you always say thanks. So my thank you to you for participating in today's webinar, as I will send you a newsletter. I have a newsletter that I do, and usually it's a quarterly newsletter where I share key tips for leadership as well as for managing new professionals. And sometimes I even have free workshops and webinars, as well as the fact that for NJB members only, what I have done is opened up 7 slots on my calendar. And so if you are one of the first 7 to reply or send this text out, you'll have an opportunity to schedule some one-on-one time to talk to me, 30 minutes. We can have a quick chat, and you can let me know what additional support you need from me. So I'm going to allow Vinny, I guess we'll take some questions. But again, my name is Krishna Powell, and I just appreciate you having me here.
Thank you, Krishna. You did an amazing job, so amazing that nobody has any questions. So I'm going to stall a little bit and give people time to type something in. So in the meantime, I'd like to take a second to remind you about the Handouts tab. We get a lot of questions from people asking how they can download the slideshow. So all you have to do is open up your GoToWebinar panel, and under the Handouts tab, you can click the PowerPoint right there. You can also just wait until tomorrow, and they'll be emailed to you along with the video of the recording of today's webinar. Speaking of that recording, if you can't wait until tomorrow, it'll be up on YouTube in the next couple hours. That's youtube.com/NJBIA. And we've got the questions tab. If you have a question, type it in right there, and I'll make sure Krishna answers it. And don't be shy, you've got an expert here, so make sure to take advantage of her. I can't tell you how many times I read the post-webinar evaluations and see someone disappointed that a relevant topic wasn't covered, that the webinar wasn't broad enough, that it was too in the weeds. This is your opportunity to make the webinar your own and take it in whatever direction you'd like. So anyway, with all of that out of the way, I've got one here from George, who says, I see my manager struggling all the time. How can I convince him to delegate more to me?
So what I recommend, and great question, George, what I recommend is that you spend time talking to the manager. What I used to do, my manager was, again, like you said, some leaders are just too busy to even think they have time to delegate. I was just 15 minutes. Let me get 15 minutes on your calendar. And I would say to them, okay, I see you're doing this project, or I heard about this assignment. I'm thinking this is the role that I could take or how I can assist. And so a lot of times managers look and go, oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, that's a great idea. Wonderful. You're coming in, you're volunteering. Yes, by all means, here, take it. And so I think it's key when you have a leader who you see is very busy, take a look at some of the things that you're doing, what you're hearing them talk about, the projects that they're working on, and figure out where you could fit in, how you could support your manager with the assignments, with the tasks that they have going on. But make sure when you do that, that you definitely have the bandwidth to take on that task and that responsibility. Because the last thing you want to do is volunteer for something and then not be able to see it all the way through. So by all means, volunteer, get 15 minutes on your leader's calendar and get their input. And they will definitely be surprised to hear you figure out, to see that type of initiative. It's rare. It doesn't happen often. So you will definitely stand out, George, when you say to your manager, this is how I see I can support you and help you get this done, and make sure it comes back to you by this time frame, and I'll give you a snapshot of what I found and have a discussion with you. And that way, that's one less thing you have to do. So that's just one of my tips.
Wow, sorry, a bunch just came in right in the last couple of seconds, so I'm still reading them. Okay, so we have one from Garang who asks, I feel I'm delegating certain responsibilities, but I'm being told how to do it, which at times I have a differing opinion on. How do I deal with such a situation?
So my recommendation is, and is it Garang? Garang? Thank you, Garang. So my recommendation, Garang, is be open to hearing how leadership has done the task in the past. It helps you because it stops you from reinventing the wheel. But if you know of a way to save time, energy, money, then by all means communicate that back to the person who has delegated the task to you and say, thank you very much. I heard that these are the steps that has been taken in the past. Would you be open to some feedback from me? Because I think I know of a way that this can get done in half the amount of time, for example, or with half the amount of resources. Leaders love to hear employees talk, direct reports talk about how to save time, money, and resources. So if you're able to share it with your leader from that point of view, they are normally 9 times out of 10 open and very excited to hearing, wow, I didn't think about that. So a lot of times leaders tell you the way that it has been done, again, so that way you don't reinvent the wheel. Also, just because they know that's the tried and proven way that things have worked. But if you can show a leader how they can save time, money, and resources and get it done faster, easier, they're definitely going to jump on it or allow you the opportunity to try it out. So again, delegation, it's a conversation between the conductor and orchestra. That's what I like about it, that it's not just one or the other. It's an ongoing open dialogue and communication that you're having with one another.
Here's one from Joe, who asks if you have more examples of tasks that you can delegate from high to low priorities, like busy work and whatever.
So I already gave you the example about making sure, think about your meetings, if there is anyone who can act as a proxy for you. Think about reports that you're running. Think about follow-up emails and communication that needs to be done, not in regards to employees responding to emails, but when another leader, say, for example, sends you an email, is there some things, a lot of times people send you stuff that as a leader you have to research, that you have to check into. Why not assign those tasks to employees who understand, again, your department, the responsibilities, how key it is to get things in a timely manner, just the overall role of your department. Let them research the information. Let them research best practices. So if you have in your mind that you want to roll out something next year or even this year that could potentially save time, money, resources, or maybe someone shared something with you at a networking event and you're trying to figure out how can you implement that within your department, you can tag, basically, that's what I call delegation, where you like tag you're in as a little kid, but you can tag one of your employees and go, hey, this is what I'm hearing about as one of the best practices in our industry that I think would benefit our team. Why don't you take a look, see what you can find out, and come back and share with me your thoughts, and maybe we can figure out a way to implement that here within the department. Those are the things that you can look at. Divvying out to your employees. What are some of those? Again, is there a report that needs to be done? Is there a PowerPoint, an Excel spreadsheet that needs to be done? There is a whole host of things that you can give them to do, and it may not be the whole kit and caboodle. Like I said, it could just be a piece or a part of what you would normally need in order to do your job. Again, it's just one less thing for you to have to research, one less thing for you to have to do. And at the same time, it develops your employee skill set, that they're like, wow, I now understand why my manager asks on a monthly basis for us to turn in, this report or this information, because this is how it's being used. And this is how it matters for the business. And this is, the leadership team that gets to hear it. Now I understand. So make sure, it helps them connect the dots to understand, again, the impact to the business and the department. So I hope that helps you.
I've got one here from Laura who says, and she put this in quotes, so I'm going to quote, is there a delicate way to delegate to a disgruntled employee?
So yes, there is a delicate way. Usually employees are disgruntled for one of two reasons, well, two main reasons. One is money. They don't feel as though they're being paid adequately or appropriately for the job that they're doing. But two is the one that's, in my opinion, most easiest to overcome, and they just don't feel like they're being utilized or people aren't listening to them. And so for a disgruntled employee, you have to spend a little bit more time having a conversation with them, letting them know that you think that they're valuable and why you're giving this task to them. There are some employees, I used to be one of them. You didn't have to give me a whole spiel about, Krishna, you've done this, this, and this good, and so this is why I'm giving this to you. Instead, I'm just like, can you give me the task? Tell me what I need to do. What does it matter to the business? Okay, now I understand that, then I'm on it. But some employees, they want to hear, hey, I see this is your strength. This is what you've contributed to the organization. I know maybe you haven't always received the acknowledgement. I want you to know I see you, I value you, and I appreciate you. That's why I'm engaging you on this project and asking you for your assistance and support, because I know with you, not only it will get done, but it'll get done the right way. So the delicate way, again, is the conversation, is letting them know that you see them and appreciate them. What do they do very well? Because every employee, even with their shortcomings, there is something that they do very well. Acknowledge that and talk about how that's a strength and how you want to continue to use their strengths to build not only their reputation in the organization and let people see them in the light that you see them as a valuable employee that has a lot to contribute. But again, just also let them know, you know what? Employees just want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to know that they matter. And so for a disgruntled employee to hear that from a leader, first of all, they're going to be surprised because they know they've been walking around mad for the last 6 months, year, or however long they've been that disgruntled employee. They know it. They're used to people treating them with a long handle spoon and not wanting to be bothered with them. So the fact that you're engaging them in the conversation and as well as talking about the good things that you see in them is going to be quite shocking for them and will make them go, okay, maybe I will, give this 110% because my leader actually acknowledges me, sees me, values me. And if there's anyone I don't want to let down, that's the person I don't want to let down. So I hope that helps.
I've got one more here, but keep them coming. We'll keep it rolling as long as you guys keep them coming or Krishna doesn't run out the door. So we've got one here from Robert who asks, how do you deal with delegation when you're not the one dealing with employees, like subcontractors or customers that need to provide the leader with options or decisions?
So for those for subcontractors, that could be a little bit tough. You would need to at least be a part of the team or ongoing conversations with the subcontractor in order to get work delegated to them. One of the things I recommend is, with that being the case, you need to establish a partnership with the executive who brought the subcontractor in and ask them, if I see that there is some additional work that could be or should be delegated to the subcontractor, do I have the authority, do I have your blessing to have the conversation with the subcontractor? And if yes, will you also communicate this to the subcontractor that I could potentially be sending them some additional work or additional tasks that they could take on to help out our business? And then you can give, of course, the leadership those examples. So that is what the conversation should look like. So that way the subcontractor or third party knows that when you call up, that you calling up or you giving them instructions, you giving them information is no different really than if the executive who brought them into the organization divvied up work or gave them work to do. And so that's the way you can get them to do it. But sometimes you'll have a leader that says, no, I want the information to come from me. Just tell me what it is that you think should be delegated to them. So have that list of potentially what you think should go to the subcontractor, but also talk about, if this work goes to them, what is the benefits to the organization? If it's your work, talk about how, if we get these 3 things off of my plate, here are the things that I can do now instead. And so that way it doesn't look like you're just trying to pass the buck more or less with your responsibilities. And instead it showcases that, let's fully utilize and get our money's worth out of our subcontractor. So that way we can go ahead and I can go work on these larger scale projects and do the other things that we said we always wanted to do, or I can do above and beyond in regards to not just meeting the goals, but exceeding the goals that you've given me. So think about even your performance review or conversation or goals in the organization. How, again, taking these 3 things or 4 things off, will that allow the rest of the team in order to focus on, again, what matters most to your organization to help it, to propel it for the very near future for success.
Well, that looks like all the questions we have, so I think it's as good a time as any to bring things to a close. Don't forget, all of you will be receiving a recording of today's webinar and the PowerPoint slides via email. Lastly, when you close out of the webinar, a survey will come up on your screen that we hope you'll fill out so we can understand how to best provide you important information in a webinar format. Our next webinar, Understanding New Jersey Disability Insurance, will take place Wednesday, January 30th. So by all means, feel free to register for that one right at our website at njbia.org. So until next time, for Krishna Powell, this is Vinny Civitello thanking you for being with us this morning and wishing you a great day.